Good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder and this is BRN AM for Tuesday, January 19, 2021. And here are our top stories. Walmart is launching a new fintech startup and interesting items at this year's Consumer Electronics Show. Well, joining me now to discuss this and more is Daniel Klein. He's lead advisor and executive producer for 7 Investing. Dan, great to see you as always. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Hey there, Jeff. Nice to see you. You faded out a bit there, but I'm hoping it's just on my end.
I can hear you just fine, and I can see you just fine, Dan. So let's jump in because Walmart and Ribbit made an announcement this week this past week, I should say, that they are launching a fintech initiative for Walmart customers. And I immediately thought of you and I thought about, wow, this is kind of big news.
It is. So first of all, I've never heard of Ribbit, and I was really hoping Kermit the Frog was their CEO, but he is not. So Walmart is basically saying we have this massive array of customers and we already have this close relationship. We have credit cards and we have some debit cards, but there are all these fintech properties we could launch. Let's find a partner so we could do it. Jeff, I hate to bring up this name because at the time this was a very successful company, but doesn't this feel a lot like Sears back in like the 70s and 80s with Discover and sort of saying, wow, we have this intimate relationship with our customers. Maybe we could provide them credit cards. And with Walmart, they don't know what this means. This could be check cashing. It could be micro loans. It could be, payday, who knows what it would be. It could eventually be investing or saving or HSAs. But right now, this is just a partnership to explore that. And it makes sense. If you're a Walmart customer, chances are there's a relationship. And I think Amazon could do more of this. I think Target could do more of this. Costco could definitely do more of this.
Yeah, I agree with you. Look, I think that what I took away from this is, number one, yes, there are savings accounts, there are benefits, just like if you were to belong to AARP or Sam's Club and get a benefit on buying certain goods. But I think there's a benefit there in terms of products, investment products. But the other thing, Dan, that I think is really important, and I hope is not missed, is the ability to educate and inform the consumer and help them with financial literacy and achieving financial independence. Because that is, at the end of the day, going to benefit Walmart and other organizations if they follow this mantra of making sure that people understand what a credit card is, what you're doing when you charge a credit card, what you need to do to budget. So that's what I took away from this.
Yeah, and let's start at day one. Imagine the person that doesn't have a bank account getting their first bank account and the journey they could go on. Look, that's what we do at 7 Investing is we try to bring the ability to invest in the market to people that might not have otherwise done that. Who better to do that on very baby steps than Walmart? Walmart saying, hey, you should have a savings account. You should have whatever an HSA in case there's unexpected emergencies, and really taking you on that journey. I don't know if that's how they'll frame it, but I do think they could do it. T-Mobile has actually done this. They have a product that offers a bank account to customers, and it's a very favorable bank account compared to most, and it's going after that person who has a cell phone but doesn't have a bank account. And look, this is not as big a problem in the US as it is around the world, but Walmart operates in a lot of other countries. So their ability to fill in needs, to fill in gaps, and really be useful. And if Walmart's your bank account, imagine the incentives they could offer you. Hey, use your Walmart card at a Walmart, get 3%, get 5% on that. So this is all tied in. And I think the biggest companies are going to become much more than they are in financial services, financial literacy. You want your customers to be healthy. And by healthy, I don't just mean physically healthy. I mean all aspects of their life. So if you can help them by, say, taking a customer who might fall into a terrible payday loan and instead give them a low interest loan that gets them over the hump, or provides them with the ability to pay for childcare at a time. This is very similar to Uber doing something which sounds small, but every day as a driver, they'll loan you $50. So if you get up in the morning and you want to put gas in your car and have a breakfast sandwich and hit the road, they'll front you that money and you can pay them back as you make money that day. Walmart has the ability to do that, and those little things can be the difference between a big financial failure. A loan from Walmart at 1% that comes out of your paycheck in tiny amounts to catch up is way different than the guy that takes 100% for a loan of 2 weeks at the the payday loan place. So I think this could be really good for consumers.
Yeah, and Dan, let me ask you this, because we have talked about Walmart's competition with Amazon. Trying to go mano a mano or person a perso in terms of offerings. Does this just give them one more arrow in the quiver? I think what's important with Amazon and in Walmart is the sense of community. When you go into the Walmart community, you've got access to these things. But would you say that this is another shot fired in the direction of Amazon? And by the way, could we see Amazon? We saw them try to get into healthcare, or are getting into healthcare with PillPack, buying, making acquisitions. They tried the Venture Haven, other places. But is this another opportunity that Amazon might look at?
So, Jeff, I'm going to be controversial, and I'm going to say Walmart and Amazon aren't competitors for the most part. I think the Amazon customer is someone who has a credit card, is someone who's a little bit more high tech and tech savvy. I'm not saying there isn't overlap, but the big base of customers they're competing over, they're probably competing with Target and Costco for all these customers in the middle. Walmart is kind of at the low end. Amazon is everybody, but it's also more of a higher end. But yeah, I do think if something like this works for a Walmart, there's nothing Amazon isn't going to do. There's no area of your life they don't want to be part of. So, if ultimately offering Amazon fintech and banking services, they could do that. I think Amazon is a little bit more worried than Walmart about antitrust issues right now, which is absurd because they're competing with each other, and that shouldn't be an issue. But I do think right now you're not going to see Amazon, go into, at least loudly, go into something like banking, which is going to attract attention, because we are going to see some bipartisan efforts in the next couple of years to at least somewhat regulate big tech. I've gone on the record as saying I think the industry should do it themselves, the way OSHA has been an industry driven, where standards are written by the entire industry. I don't think government's going to do well with this. But yeah, this is absolutely going to be a keeping up with the Joneses thing, where if Walmart does it, Amazon will probably at least throw a few hundred people at doing it itself.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see. I was excited by this. And, again, I see the financial education part of this. That, to me, is the bigger part to make better consumers. Well, Dan, I want to go to a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk to Dan about the Consumer Electronics Show, which is all virtual, and maybe some of the more fun ideas that have been rolled out there in the last week. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Hi folks, Joe Namath here, and if you're on Medicare, this is important. You're now entitled to eliminate copays and get dental care, dentures, eyeglasses, prescription coverage, in-home aids, unlimited transportation, and home-delivered meals, all at no additional cost. Plus, your zip code may have coverage with a give back benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month. Look, with the uncertainty of the virus and vaccines, You need to get everything you're entitled to. Here's the bottom line. Call to get significant benefits at no additional cost and see if your zip code has coverage with the Give Back benefit. Millions of people have trusted the Medicare Coverage Helpline. You can too. Call now. It's free.
Call 1-800-924-3920. That's 1-800-924-3920.
Welcome back. We're talking to Daniel Klein of 7 Investing. Dan, thanks so much for staying with us this morning.
Thanks for keeping me around, Jeff.
So normally you would be traveling like many people. If this were a normal season, you would be traveling to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, Nevada, and seeing all the latest gizmos. But now, Dan, it's virtual. We actually had you on the show last month in December talking about what this could look like. But there have been a lot of really interesting devices and things created, but some of them are rather humorous and maybe even absurd. What can you tell us there?
Yeah, so I've been going to this show since the 90s. My first job, one of my first paying things, was going to the CES show, and we used to do the television show that aired on loop in your hotel room. I'd be the guy holding the mic. I was too young to show on camera at the time. I was 20. And so I've been to this show since it was literally 50% consumer electronics, separate show in the other half of the convention center, adult entertainment, because that was the number one software product for VCRs, which were the big device in those times. Now, CES is so massive, I can't even explain the scale. It's the entire convention center, multiple other convention centers, multiple hotels, and then a lot of companies like Microsoft who don't exhibit at CES will take like a floor of a hotel, and you have to decide whether you want to spend like 2 or 3 hours with them. And some companies will just take over whole restaurants and invite you to dinner. So captive for 2 or 3 hours. So, it's a very different show. It's really difficult to get around. I was very much on the fence. The only reason I was going to go this year was because I booked my hotel room so far in advance. I had a free room at a time of year where it's next to impossible to get a free room. I might have booked it before they nailed the dates down. But this year, you're seeing two sort of things. A continuation of the technology that sounds cool, but no one really needs it. And the example I'll give is, so we just bought a refrigerator, and then we probably moved and put our house up for sale. So we didn't do something that smart, but we bought a refrigerator, and $1,300. We bought it on a Labor Day or a Memorial Day sale, so it was a little cheaper than it normally would have been. For another $1,000, we could have got a refrigerator that had a touch screen and told us when our eggs were going bad. And that stuff that we've seen at CES, sort of all this built-in functionality where it's like, hey, not only does your refrigerator do these 5 things, it keeps your schedule. It tells you, hey, if you don't cook the salmon today, you're going to have to throw it away. And that's cool, but you're not going to pay extra for it. So you sent me one that it's a good idea, but it might be obtrusive in a way we don't want. And this is let's call it a smart toilet. And this is a toilet that analyzes what's going into the toilet. Nothing good is ever going into a toilet, unless you drop an iPhone or your keys. But for the most part, and it tells you, hey, Jeff, you could use a little calcium. And I could see some benefits to this because as someone who's on camera a lot, I have to balance how much water am I drinking to stay hydrated, and am I going to have to get up to go to the bathroom during the middle of a show, which is not possible. So I would love a toilet that could tell me, hey, Dan, your hydration level is great, or maybe you should go have a bottle of water or whatever it is. But the reality of it is who is going to buy this? Unless you have a real reason to be monitoring your health on that sort of, athletes, this might be a tool for athletes. This is not going to be a tool for regular people because I can buy a regular toilet for, $160 to $250. I'm not going to buy a $3,000 toilet just because it tells me, hey, maybe you need a little more fiber in your diet.
Yeah, I thought it was a little futuristic. I don't know, Dan, if you recall the movie, and I think it's 2005, 2006 with Scarlett Johansson and Ewan McGregor called The Island. But in that opening scene, he uses the restroom and it tells him he has his sodium levels too high and he can't have bacon. I agree with you. I think it's kind of absurd. I think most people, maybe in today's environment, yeah, maybe you link it to your phone, but at the end of the day, it's a little intrusive. And last thing, I want to have some peace and quiet sometime in my life. that's a time that I like to have some peace and quiet and not get feedback.
Yeah, I also worry about how beholden I'd become to it. So Jeff, I'm kind of on a health kick. We've moved, there's walking space here. Eventually there's a really nice gym, though it's being remodeled at the moment, so it's not open. I see a trainer a few times a week, and I'm very beholden to my Apple Watch. There was a night this week where at 9:30 at night, I was pacing up and down the sidewalk, trying to get in enough to close my loops and trying to raise my pace enough in the drizzly dark, so I could actually be getting exercise minutes instead of just, moving minutes. So I've become very much a slave to my watch. I'm not sure I also need to be a slave to my toilet, where I'm like planning on going somewhere and the toilet says like, hey, you need more vitamin C. And it's like, oh, crud, I got to go upstairs and, drink a glass of orange juice or whatever it is. I think some things are too much, especially because there are likely very easy ways to monitor this stuff coming down the road. Watch functionality is going to do things like track sodium and other things. And you're going to see the way there are, meters for diabetics. There are going to be other pretty simple wearable tech where you can, get a sense of, on a very gross level, what am I missing? What am I needing? Hey, your potassium's really low, your sodium's really high. It's all interesting and useful, but at some point it's too much data. Like, I've gone to bed at night like upset that I haven't, met my watch's demands. And some days, here's the reality. Some days you're just working too much. Like, you're only going to hit it 5 or 6 days a week. You're not going to hit it 7. I'm not sure like I need my toilet giving me direct feedback. That seems like a little much.
Yeah, some of this technology, and I think we talked about this a little on the podcast earlier on Sunday, I would view it as it just really doesn't have an application, at least in its current form. We talked about the roll-up phones. I don't think people really like the phone that you could like mash up into different pieces. It just doesn't seem like that technology or that application of technology really makes sense. But I could see that in other venues. Is this, given the pandemic, and people may not be spending a lot with their discretionary income because they may not have it for a lot of reasons, or they may want to hold on to it. The savings rate obviously up very much. Could you see this technology applied in other areas, and maybe that's why they're doing it, like almost like a concept car?
Yeah, so I think a lot of this is concept, and there's a lot of things where I just feel like the people creating them aren't gauging demand. And for years, there's been all sorts of robots shown at CES, and we've seen robot technology, like Walmart has inventory taking robots. Stop and Shop has robots that are doing everything from cleaning. That's a New England-based chain. Robots doing cleaning, doing inventory, pointing out problems. So there are uses for it, but the average person isn't going to need a robot in their house because it's not that necessary. Like, you're cooking and you say, like, robot, get me the salt. Like, I can get the salt. It's right there. But where do robots work? Robot vacuums are really, really useful. So there are other things like, robot lawnmowers. And obviously there's a lot more risk associated with a lawnmower to a vacuum. Robot pool cleaners are a thing. You're going to start seeing technology that at the highest level is just for like a rich guy to show off to his friends. That at a practical level, Jeff, our house is 1,000 square foot bigger. The second floor is all open. And I run my Roomba once a day because we have 2 cats. And it does an amazing job. It picks up like half a cat worth of hair every day. And that's wonderful. So technology like that, like if they made something that could a Roomba for stairs, because we have 2 large flights of stairs, it's our only carpet in the house, that's something we would buy. It's practical, it solves a problem. A lot of what you're seeing, like, would it be cool for my refrigerator be able to tell me while I'm out, oh, hey, someone just drank the last of the milk, you should buy some milk? That's cool. But my son could also text me and say, hey, I just drank the last of the milk. So am I really going to pay extra for that? CES has a lot of fantastical stuff, but this year I also think, and we talked about this on the podcast, I think you're going to see a lot of the like biggest stuff. People are going to hold off on those releases until a time where they could do the traditional big rollout, because the media isn't at CES. Like, because CES is in Vegas, it's a media party. Everybody who can get it expensed goes. So there's a ton of media there. There's a lot of eyeballs. Those eyeballs aren't there. I can't stand the virtual conferences, Jeff. I've barely paid attention. It's not interesting to me. The way, the best part of any of these shows is the human interaction, and even seeing like PR people that you like that you haven't seen in a long time. So I think this is going to be a very quiet, low-key CES, and there's probably some really cool stuff that's going to get integrated into things we use, but I don't think we're seeing anything. Like, I haven't seen a wow me product yet in terms of like every home's going to have this.
Well, Dan, I agree with you. I think people are certainly Zoomed out. They're Skyped out. They want to have interaction, and for a lot of reasons, we can't have those interactions. But certainly, hopefully, in later 2021, we will. Dan, always a pleasure chatting with you. Really appreciate you coming on the program twice in a week, and look forward to having you back again later on this week.
Thanks, Jeff. I will see you soon.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to? Then drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the information in retirement markets, technology, personal finance, so much more, check out our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. So until tomorrow, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.